morning, everyone. We are excited to have you join us today. My name is Leah Market, and I am the Guest Services Coordinator for the World Trade Center Seattle. And this is Kelly Norwalk, our Interim Director of World Trade Center Seattle. Today's program, Ask the Admirals, is an Intermeet, a virtual platform for session and panels. Please use the chat located on the right side of your screen if you have any questions that you would like us to have at the end of the session, as we will be doing a question and answer portion at the end after the regional updates. I'd like to turn things over to Steve Keith. He is the president of Navy League Seattle to kick off our event today.
Thank you, Leah. Welcome everyone to Ask the Admirals, co-sponsored by World Trade Center Seattle and Navy League Seattle, and part of Hybrid Fleet Week 2021. We ran the first edition of this event last year when Fleet Week went all virtual, and it was a great success, so we're happy to do it again. I'd like to start by thanking Navy Band Northwest for the musical entertainment while you were signing on to AirMeet. And we'll go right straight to the program. We're honored to have both regional commanders for the Coast Guard and the Navy join us here today to respond directly to questions you have submitted. Let me briefly introduce the two admirals and invite them to give some opening remarks. Rear Admiral Melvin Bouboulis is the commander of Coast Guard District 13, encompassing Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana. He is a 1987 graduate of the U.S. Coast Guard Academy and has flown the MH-65 Dolphin and MH-60 Jayhawk helicopters, as well as the HC-130 Hercules aircraft. He has served in aviation field assignments from Pensacola, Florida to North Bend, Oregon, and in shore billets of increasing complexity and responsibility, including his most recent assignment as Director of Operational Logistics for the Coast Guard. Along the way, he earned a master's degree from Purdue University. Admiral Bouboulis has the added distinction of being the longest-serving active-duty Coast Guard aviator, known as the Ancient Albatross. Admiral Bouboulis, welcome.
Thank you, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be with you and back on the West Coast. By way of adding to the introduction, I'm a second-generation Coast Guard member. So my father was enlisted, went up through the ranks after 30 years, retired as an 05, mainly in the naval engineering world. Hence my interest in going into aviation. I wanted to get a little separation and distance from his strong reputation, but it's been neat. Let me tell you a little bit about the Coast Guard operations here in District 13. Some folks may be aware, but it's worth a reminder. So we have more than 3,000 active duty, reserve, and civilian and auxiliary men and women who serve the American public here in the 13th District, and it comprises the Washington, Oregon coastlines and also navigable waterways in Idaho and Montana. And it includes 3 different sectors: a sector in Puget Sound, Columbia River, and in North Bend. It's also home to 15 small boat stations, 3 air stations, 3 buoy tenders, and 9 87-foot patrol boats, as well as 2 210-foot medium endurance cutters. We have 3 polar icebreakers that are here, a marine safety and security unit, and a port security unit, as well as a marine force protection unit, and aids to navigation teams, and the motor lifeboat station. We also have an advanced rescue swimmer and advanced rescue swimmer helicopter rescue school. And the majority of the Coast Guard surf stations, the stations that have 47-foot or motor surf boats, are located here in District 13. We really play a critical role in maintaining and overseeing the maritime transportation system in the region. We have waterborne cargo and associated activities that contribute more than 68,000 jobs through the state of Oregon, and you're probably well aware, nearly 500,000 jobs in the state of Washington, generating close to $250 billion of economic activity between the two areas. I'm interested in some of the questions that may be forthcoming, but I'll address a couple of other things. You may be aware, some folks may be aware, that we're trying to expand our operations here at Base Seattle, right here on the waterfront. We have polar security cutters, or icebreakers that we operate out of there. The Coast Guard's in the process of acquiring new icebreaking capability with the polar security cutters. We plan on purchasing 6 of those. Our first one we expect to be delivered in 2024 and home ported right here in Seattle. We're also changing out some of our medium endurance cutters, recapitalizing those with what we call fast response cutters. They're a little bit smaller than the 210-foot cutters that we have, but every bit as capable, and I would argue a little bit more. And then finally, we're pursuing a bit of an organizational change with our command and control structure across the 3 sectors that I mentioned previously. And that's internally a command and control reorganization to try and optimize our operations and response and service to the public here. I think with that, I'll just pause and call that an intro, and that way I'll have plenty of time to address any questions that may come up later. Thank you.
Great, thank you, sir. And Admiral Brad Collins is the commander of Navy Region Northwest, supporting the Navy's 3rd largest fleet concentration area here in Puget Sound, as well as Navy activities from Iowa to Alaska. He graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy in 1992, and after completing flight training began a series of aviation assignments in the SH-60 Seahawk helicopter, culminating in command of Helicopter Squadron HSL-42. His shore assignments have ranged from U.S. Strategic Command to Navy Personnel Command to the Missile Defense Agency to commanding Naval Support Activities Suda Bay, Greece, as well as earning a master's degree at the Naval War College along the way. Welcome, Admiral Collins.
Oh, good morning, Stephen. It's great to be here with you and with my fellow admiral over there from across the water today. So thank you very much. As you said, my name is Brad Collins. I recently took over as Commander Navy Region Northwest, and I'm very excited to be out here. Been out here about a month so far. I wanted to share with you a little bit about your U.S. Navy in the Northwest region here before we take some questions. Navy Region Northwest has almost 200,000 military service members, civilians, employees, military family members, retirees, and contractors across our 11-state area of responsibility. We have 4 major installations in the Puget Sound area: Naval Air Station Whidbey Island, Naval Station Everett, Naval Base Kitsap, and Naval Magazine Indian Island. We have various home-ported operational platforms here: aircraft carriers, guided missile destroyers, Ohio and Seawolf class submarines, the Growlers, EA-18 Gulf, P-8 Poseidon multi-mission aircraft, and search and rescue helicopters as well. It's important to us. We care a great deal about our communities, where we live and work, and we do our best to support our shared environment with those communities. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that later on. As of July 27th of this year, I'm proud to say our Whidbey Island-based search and rescue units have performed 29 missions so far out in the community. That includes 5 medevacs, 21 rescues, and 3 searches. Very proud of that team. Navy Region Northwest Fire and Emergency Services, we have responded to 561 mutual aid calls for services off base out in the communities. Real proud of that team as well. Our installations strongly underpin the economic stability of our neighboring communities around here, contributing approximately $10.7 billion to the regional economy each year and generating more than 78,000 jobs in the local area. Stephen, our world is changing rapidly. Our nation is facing some complex maritime security challenges, but your U.S. Navy is working to defend our nation from harm, protect the American people, and preserve our way of life. We could not accomplish this without the support of our communities. Your support means we can continue to provide the men and women in uniform the vital training that they need to accomplish basically what our nation is asking of them. It is not only our duty, but it's our passion to serve and defend the American people. That's why many of us have joined the Navy to begin with, to give back to this nation and to serve a purpose greater than ourselves. And I'm so excited to be here with Navy Region Northwest and our entire team. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And at this point, I'll turn it back over to Leah and Kelly of World Trade Center Seattle. for our question and answer period.
Hi, everybody, again. So glad to hear those updates. Thank you both for that. We're going to start off with the first question, which is this your first time in the Northwest? And what are you and your family most excited about in moving here? Whatever Admiral would like to start.
Well, we'll start off if that's all right. So it's not my first time in the Pacific Northwest. Actually, my wife and I were married in 1994, and shortly thereafter we moved. Quite honestly, about 2 months after we got married, we moved to North Bend, Oregon. I was stationed out there as the assistant engineering officer at then Group Air Station North Bend. We were there from 94 to 98 and had our first son there. So we really enjoy the area, love the outdoors, just enjoyed our time here. My job's taken me primarily along the East Coast, Gulf Coast, and Caribbean, and this is our first time back to the Pacific Northwest. We're so excited to be here. We are very fortunate that we get to live at the historic Alki Point Lighthouse property. So we have just expansive views of Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains in the background. That's really the most exciting thing that we've enjoyed so far, but obviously Seattle Pacific Northwest just has a wealth of activities to do, and really the operations here are exciting. I'm coming from a previous job, Director of Operational Logistics, where I was responsible for providing a lot of the mission support to our Coast Guard operational forces. And now I just feel very fortunate and blessed to be out here leading those operational forces as your Coast Guard women and men deliver services to help keep the area safe, secure, and prosperous while protecting our living marine resources and our environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Alki Beach is beautiful, and I love to visit that time of year. So I'm very jealous that you live in that area. Miss Admiral Collins?
Well, for me, although I've been in the Northwest before, first time stationed in the Northwest. And as I've told a lot of people already, I traded out Washington, D.C. for Washington State. Pretty happy about that. Can't lie about that one. So what I'm most excited about, what my wife and I are most excited about, is just this new adventure. The things we don't even know about so far. I mean, we've been out, we've been hiking, and of course we love the outdoors. So we're looking forward to seeing as many things as we can. But I would tell you it's the unknown so far. The other night, her and I were walking down the streets of Bremerton there, a little bit quiet at the end of the night. And we saw that the Roxy Theater down there was having a Star Wars night. They were playing the original Star Wars movie down at the theater. And so, and I got to tell you, that was an interesting group of folks to be in there with, the whole costumes and everything. But, it was for a good cause. Didn't understand, because I'm just new to the area, that they had been rebuilding a lot of what's going on in that theater. So it was great to take part in that. And then Whaling Days down in Silverdale. So we've already seen a couple great things already, and just looking forward to doing as much as we can. Of course, the job comes first for now. But I think both of these things kind of work together from my perspective. Some of it's the community, and some of it's just being out there with everybody from here and taking that Navy message out there. So, yeah, just excited as I could be. And like I said, glad to be out of DC and here. So.
Well, thank you. While I still have you, Admiral Collins, what are some things you wish the community better understood about your service's role in serving the Puget Sound area and national security?
So if I could just hone in on one specific area, if I had people's time, I would tell them one thing. The training that we do in this region, it is just vitally important. I mean, understand the strategic importance of everything that goes on here and the deployments that happen. But before every deployment, there's training that goes on, and it just can't be replicated anywhere else. One of my jobs is to protect that Navy training space, to ensure that the safety of our young people in uniform, who by the way, we're sending out into harm's way, that they have the training they need before they go out there on deployment. I like to use this example because I think people will understand it here. No one wants to watch a Seahawks team that has not stepped on the practice field before, except for one person, and that's their opponents. And so it's my job to make sure that our opponents don't have that advantage as well with our sailors.
Completely agree with that. I want to make sure our Seahawks do good this year. Perfect. Admiral Bouboulis?
Well, thank you again, Leah. So our service is here to protect the maritime communities that we serve. And here in Seattle, I'm sure you've seen just an array of various assets that are either conducting themselves on the water or over the water. And they range from small boats out of Station Seattle to patrol boats that are patrolling out from Port Angeles and Everett and Bellingham, and buoy tenders, which maintain the aids to navigations that help our Navy counterparts navigate these waters safely. And we also protect the maritime navigation system and commerce. And then I'd be remiss too, as the ancient albatross, the longest rated aviator in the Coast Guard, to highlight our air stations. We just had some search and rescue cases offshore here recently that were probably covered in the news. And I would say, really, we just are happy to be a part of the community. We partner very closely with our DoD brethren. At SAR case I was talking about, we had a fishing vessel that sank out from the mast, out from under the master, and he was in a rescue pod life raft. And the P-8 that was flying overhead heard some distress calls that we'd published, and they responded and actually located the member for us. And we used our coordination of Coast Guard assets, Navy assets, or Navy aircraft, and cutters to recover that person safely, and they're disembarking or getting back to shore today. So I think that's mostly what I'd like folks to be aware of. And then finally, as we look about the increase in activities of summer weather, there's a lot of people that are out and about on the water enjoying recreational activities. And I think it'd be vitally important to remind everyone to really the biggest thing they can do to help stay safe and secure is wear a personal flotation device. Have those ready to go. The water's cold, even in 70 degrees over in Lake Union and all. If you're in the water for a while, it's going to affect you. And life jackets are absolutely critical. Over.
Thank you for that. Speaking of safety, while I still have you, what were the most successful measures taken by the services to limit the spread of COVID-19? What efforts were less successful? Could you talk more about that?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'm really proud of the way we responded. Our priority during COVID-19 has been and will continue to be maintaining our mission readiness and the ability to respond to the public when we need it. Despite some positive COVID cases in our crews, we've been there to answer the call. We developed protocols to protect our people, and in order to ensure maximum readiness, we are following the CDC as well as local and state governments' directions, so that we're good stewards both within the community and amongst our crews. So we're doing the same things that everybody else is doing, the social distancing. We increased and improved our telework capabilities and processes. We were able to take advantage of some of the CARES Act funding that was there to increase our telework capability and bandwidth so that we could maximize the benefits of the productivity of our disaggregated workforce. And then really, regardless of the pandemic, protecting the public is really our first priority. So our small boats, cutters, aviation communities, we all continue our operations. And as we engage with the public, we've employed the CDC guidance, local guidance for personal protective equipment, wearing masks and gloves and those types of things. We had created a Coast Guard-wide system for tracking personal protective equipment. You're very well aware there were shortages with masks and all. So we really went from, flash to bang pretty quick, where masks were, disposable like pens and pencils to us, and we really weren't tracking those. We developed a Coast Guard-wide system across all of our units so that we could identify that critical PPE that they had, limit the demands that we had for the national supplies at large, and have total visibility of where those supplies are so that we could maximize the benefit from them. I really can't say that we had a less successful event or activities associated with that. I'm really proud of the Coast Guard and how quick we were able to vaccinate our workforce, provide vaccines and testing. We're running about a 70%, 71% vaccine rate within the local area in our folks. I was out this last week in our southern AOR and made it a point at every all hands that I spoke with to highlight the importance of the vaccinations. For me, it's the best, most effective way to protect ourselves, ensure our readiness as a service, and then protect our families and the communities that we live and serve in. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Admiral Collins, would you like to follow up?
Yeah, I'll follow up. First of all, I'll say that I'm not going to repeat many of the same things that Melvin said, because they are very similar. I mean, I think what I would say is this was a great learning experience for the Navy. And just like the Coast Guard, we had to ramp up pretty quickly and to figure out where we were going to make specific, adjustments, mitigations in some of the jobs that are out there. I think of some of the positions, air traffic controllers, a little bit different, a lot of speaking, people crowded together in rooms, security forces, so on and so forth. So while we use the same general mitigations across the board, the gatherings, the telework, virtual interactions, and all of that, it's really where we quickly move to find out how do we continue to do the mission while doing it safely. And agree completely, the best form of defense is getting vaccinated at this point, especially where we're at now. And then just simple things like, if you're not feeling well, I know, back before COVID, if people weren't feeling well, they'd come into work, right? You're a trooper, you're going to get in there, just don't do that stuff anymore. I mean, that's the quickest way to spread COVID or anything else around the workplace here. So real happy with that. Vaccination trends here. We're doing good, not great. I would call it good. Out at Hospital Bremerton, they've administered about 44,000 doses or so. So good number there. And I'd just like to say to all those that are listening, that vaccine is available at Naval Hospital Bremerton, Naval Health Clinic Oak Harbor, Everett Branch Health Clinic. So get out there, get to the Facebook page, COVID-19 information, get out there and get your vaccine. So I think our team has sprinted to the point where we need to be. We're at a good spot now, but we just need to continue on and not become complacent in what we've done over this time.
Thank you very much. That was a question from one of our audience members, Delmas Whitaker. Thank you for that. Moving on, we have another question from the audience. Will Navy and Coast Guard have increased presence in Arctic, given how many countries are showing active interest in resources, shipping traffic, maritime operations? Sticking with you, Admiral Collins.
Okay, I was going to say I'll jump in first on this one. So I see the question there on the right. Will we have increased presence in the Arctic? I think that there is if I was to get my crystal ball, I don't believe there's any way we will have less presence in the Arctic, knowing what's going on there in the future. So yes, my short answer to the question is, will we have increased presence? I see that as a high probability moving to the future. And of course, that will impact our region here in the Northwest, definitely both Navy and Coast Guard. But the quick answer is to that, yes, I think we will see increased presence over time.
Great. Admiral Bouboulis?
Yeah, thanks, Brad. And I think the Coast Guard has a vital part to play in that, to ensure that you have navigable waterways that are clear to operate up there. And that gets me into what the Coast Guard's presence in the Arctic and Antarctic regions really are. But the Coast Guard's vital national interests in the polar regions, and in order to protect the national security, environmental, and economic interests in the Arctic, the Coast Guard needs and has support to upgrade our polar icebreaking fleet. The Coast Guard's recapitalizing our heavy polar icebreaker fleet in the form of polar security cutters. These are new designed cutters. Again, we plan on having 6 of those and building the first of 6 with a delivery schedule estimated in fiscal year 2014. This polar security cutter is going to be the first heavy polar icebreaker built in the United States in over 40 years. And it'll, again, expect delivery in 2024. And we look to home port the icebreakers, the new ones, here in Seattle, allowing the city to be more of a focal point for the Coast Guards or the U.S. Arctic strategy, really. I'm excited about this growth and this opportunity. My previous assignment as the engineer for the Coast Guard, we'd put a lot of work and effort into developing the acquisition plan for this and doing some of the design work. And I don't think it can happen, or we can't get these assets soon enough. So we'll have a much greater presence capability, again, to exert or present our national interests in the Arctic regions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For all of us, could you explain to us what an icebreaker is?
Big, heavy ship that breaks through ice. But it's so a heavy icebreaker is kind of interesting. I mean, you think of polar regions where there's annual ice develop, or maybe you're familiar around here where you might get ice that forms on a river or whichever, or a lake. There's large glacier activity and polar ice floats that are up in the Arctic that are there for years on end. A heavy icebreaker can break ice up to 21 feet, literally 21 feet. So you take this massive ship with a lot of hulk to it. You can see the polar icebreakers that we have now, the orange hulled ships right here in your home port of Seattle. But there's a couple of ways that the ships actually break ice. They actually ride up on top of the ice, and then their bulbous bow and shape crushes the ice underneath it. Or when there's ice too thick for that, they'll do a backing and ramming, and it's the equivalent of just driving into a brick wall. I mean, you take this icebreaker and you just massive amounts of torque, and you ram it into the ice until it starts cracking, and then ideally you'll ride up on top of it and break the ice apart. So it's pretty impressive. The medium icebreakers can do about 9 feet of ice continuously, and do that, break 9 feet of ice at 3 knots, which you can imagine the noise and the impact that has, fatigue that it exerts on the crew and the assets. So those assets get used pretty heavy, and we have an annual dry dock period where we maintain the hull and all the machinery equipment from those challenging operations.
Thank you for that. I just realized, I was like, I don't know what an icebreaker is, so thought I would ask. The next question we have are, what changes do you foresee in the coming years in terms of presence and operations in our regions? We'll start with you, Mr. Admiral Bouboulis.
Well, thanks. Those polar security cutters are important for us, and there's going to be more here. That drives a need for some greater presence in the Seattle area itself. We are looking to expand our presence in the area, particularly at that waterfront area, working with state and local federal agencies to acquire access to some land adjacent to the current Coast Guard base. Those things are well underway, and I think was getting some positive endorsement. In the southern portion of the AORs around Astoria, we're replacing our 210-foot cutters with fast response cutters, which are 154 feet, and we expect to have 2, ideally 3 of those in the area. With the retirement of the existing assets and the replacement with these newer assets, the overall footprint and number of people in that region won't change too much, but we will be over in the Tongue Point area constructing a pier and some base support activities in that area. The newer assets have a different manning structure to where they have a smaller crew and a high operational tempo. And when they're in port, we have maintenance crews, maintenance augmentation teams that help maintain the asset during their downtime. And then finally, we have what we call an organizational modification request, a command and control change that's going on in the region. I mentioned we had 3 sectors, and all 3 of those sectors have air stations embedded with them. The sector is really the local center point for Coast Guard mission execution and responsibility. And to better respond to the needs in the area and organize our forces, we're going to break the air stations out of those sectors, combine the sector in North Bend with the sector in Columbia River or Astoria, and relocate it in Portland. That gets us closer to our maritime partners in the industry that we work with primarily, and then freeze those sector commanders or the air stations and operational units, freeze them of some of the requirements to do other types of missions and provide mission support activities, things like galleys, housing, clinics. We're going to establish a base in the area in Astoria that is going to be responsible for those types of support activities. So I think that's going to be a net increase in presence in the Seattle area, probably a neutral presence in the Oregon coastline areas, and some newer assets. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Admiral Collins, what changes do you foresee in the coming years?
So for the Navy in the Northwest region, so first of all, we don't have any plans for new installations in the region, but where we will see the changes in the future will be the hosting and supporting the next generation of the types of combatants and platforms that we currently support right now. So we have plans for a new generation of guided missile frigates at Naval Station Everett, for the Columbia-class SSBN at Kitsap. Neither of those platforms are built yet, but we're working right now, as you might expect, to make sure that those installations are ready to provide the full range of support as needed from the shore. We're also postured to support some unmanned aircraft at Whidbey Island to maintain and support more undersea vehicles at Kitsap, with the Naval Undersea Warfare Center out at Keyport. These are all the types of basic missions that these installations have already done over the years, many of them as far back as World War II. But now we're just updating them with some new platforms, some support capabilities, and what we need to do to support those installations and those warfighters into the future. So that's where our focus is on right now for change into the future.
That all sounds very exciting. Thank you very much. I'm going to stick with you, Admiral Collins. How can local community organizations assist you in carrying out your mission?
So I think I've said this a couple times already, is first of all, our communities provide outstanding support to us already. So when you bring up that question, it's like, what more can they do for us right now? Because they already do so much. Now, it's not a perfect world. There are going to be times when people find our operations inconvenient or disruptive, but we've been in the Puget region so long, and we've enmeshed with our communities. So one action that we can take, that I would ask them to take, is to just do what you're doing right now. Take a few minutes to learn through venues such as this, And, when we get to open up some other things back in the future, take advantages of as much of that as you can to learn about the Navy and the Coast Guard and everything that we can do for you and for the country as well. There are plenty of resources for that. Seattle Fleet Week is one of those where there's lots of resources. Take advantage of them, learn about the people, presence, the operations. As with anything, there's misinformation out there. So including some about Navy Region Northwest. So it's helpful for people just to talk to us, to ask us questions, just like this in venues. And I will tell you, I'll try to get out into the community as much as they'll have me. And I'll get out there and talk to those folks as well. And if I could just leave you with one last thing, and this is personal to me, the Navy and the Coast Guard, for this matter, we're not just organizations. We're not just these big, amorphous things. It's the Navy and the community. We are comprised of individual people. So one thing the community can do, get to know these sailors, Coast Guardsmen on a personal level. And I guarantee you that two-way learning opportunity will be beneficial to both of you. That's been one of the best ways I've interacted in my previous tours. I have always tried to live a little bit further away from the installation so that I can meet people that aren't familiar with the Navy, don't understand what's going on, like to talk about, when I'm flying the helicopter, what's going on. Those are great relationships, and those are people that aren't necessarily familiar with everything that goes on a Navy installation. And that is the best way to learn and to teach people about what goes on here. So I've appreciated everybody that I've lived with in those local communities, and I'm sure it's going to be the same way out here. Thank you.
Thank you. That is an amazing insight for everybody. Just to take a second and to connect, because every organization is comprised of individual people that all have a message to send.
Sure.
Admiral Bouboulis, do you have anything to follow up with that?
Thanks, Leah. Brad, I think you expressed that very well. I would say from the Coast Guard side, what can the community do for us? Wear your life jacket again. But you'll notice that most of our units are dispersed along the coast, and we have much smaller presence than the Navy, where they need to be centralized and have larger support programs and training programs. We have stations that have 30 people, out in Chetco River, and they are a significant part of the community. And just as Brad said, being a part of the community and learning about the services is important, and vice versa. The other thing I would say, really two things, I guess. One is, as our folks are out in those more isolated areas, housing is always a challenge. These PCS moves, or as we move all of our household goods and whatnot, it's challenging in smaller areas, and then finding housing is challenging as well. So really the community could be perhaps, I would say, maybe helpful understanding with things such as just having an openness to have military folks rent their homes, or not deposits are a large impact for folks. Be aware of some of their financial limitations. And then the final one would be, much as Brad said, reaching out to the members. A lot of folks are transiting from different areas. They may not be familiar with the Pacific Northwest. The more you can get to know your service members and really just develop a relationship, share your community with them. It's great, whether that's churches, a hiking club, biking, or whichever. It really does make a difference to the service members. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Navy League support here as well. It's been phenomenal in the area, and those are the types of service communities where that really help tie together the community and some of the commercial activities around here, businesses, and the support for the services at large. That really makes a huge difference. And everyone who's in uniform, Navy, Coast Guard, we got a heart for serving the nation and people, and those relationships are vitally important. And finally, I would just say, if you know people who have that heart of service, I think the Navy's hiring as well as the Coast Guard is. So send them our way, and we're happy to have more folks join our team.
That is so great to hear. And actually, a follow-up question that we received from the audience as well is, can you talk about steps you are or will be taking to promote and support youth leadership programs?
Youth leadership programs. So I think the Navy League probably has a piece of that. And then I know a lot of our communities and our service members, I don't know if it's just by nature of the public service or trying to provide some stability for their own children and all, are very active in some of the service communities, youth programs, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Sea Scouts. The Coast Guards help sponsor some of the Sea Scout activities. And then we have a partnership and education program, which we support. I think DOD does as well, which is really active, where we try and encourage our members to be engaged with the local school systems and promote those types of things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Admiral Collins?
Yeah, very similar type of support from the Navy. I think the one thing that those that serve in the Navy themselves and their families, we grow up in a service type of culture, call it servant leadership type of culture, looking out for others, and that doesn't stay inside just the Navy lifelines. When we get out to the communities, when we get out and interact, and many of those other things that the Admiral talked about earlier, whether it's churches, hiking, biking, those sorts of organizations, any type of social organizations, the Navy folks and their families will tend to take a leadership role directly in how it affects the youth. I mean, you have junior ROTC programs. We have lots of the individual bases and individual commands that do interactions with the schools. Those are always popular. As mentioned, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, any of those type of organizations that inculcate leadership and those skill set inside for the youth of tomorrow, the Navy and Coast Guard for that matter, are going to be involved in all of those as well. We take as many opportunities as are opened up to us. I will tell you, there's going to be somebody in the military service that is going to come out and support you. In almost every case, that's going to be that. So, let that aperture open up from the community, and the Navy's going to fill that.
Thank you very much. While we would love to keep this conversation going, our time is ending for today. Admiral Collins, Admiral Bouboulis, would there be any last comments that you would like to make for everybody before we head out for the day? I would just like to say that I know the Coast Guard birthday's coming up there. I might be wrong, 231st, I believe. So is that okay? Did I do okay? So I'll just like to say congratulations the Coast Guard for that. I mean, I try to talk about this with people. We don't take enough time probably within the services to reflect on the traditions and the history of where we have come from. Sure, we have change and things move forward, but there's an outstanding tradition inside the Navy and the Coast Guard that we just can't lose sight of. And there's been a lot of amazing and great people that have come before us, and it's our duty, as leaders, and really it's our duty as everybody who serves in there to foster that sense of history, which will guide where we go to in the future. So as the Coast Guard celebrates the 231st birthday, it's a good time to reflect on where all of us have come from as a service, because that's important to reflect on that and to remember where we came from. And I appreciate all of your time. It's been great being with you today. I love to be in person in the future, so hopefully we'll get more in-person things, but this is great as well. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. Thank you so much, Admiral Collins. Admiral Bouboulis, any last comments?
I just echo those same things. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here and engage with folks and share a little bit about our small but proud service. And Admiral Collins, Brad, thank you. Yes, 231 years of service. On 4 August is when we celebrate Coast Guard Day, and congratulations to the Navy. I think 245, if I remember that right. And we'll be able to help celebrate that as well. Again, appreciate all the opportunity to engage. I hope we get to do this in public next time as well. The partnership that we have with the Navy has been exceptionally strong, and I look forward to continuing that as well. Again, Brad, we're going to send a little note of thanks, but having that P8 out there with the SAR case the other day and having them respond, it just kind of warmed my heart. And the neat thing is we didn't even have to ask. They're up monitoring radio frequencies and responded, and it was a collaborative effort between your folks, our folks, and some merchant vessels that actually responded to it as well. So it just is neat to see that. Thank you again for having us. The last thing I would say again, as you get out and about and enjoy your recreational and professional activities out on our water systems, make sure that you wear your personal flotation device, wear that life jacket.
We will make sure not to forget that. Thank you very much. I'd like to turn it over to Steve Keith for the closing remarks.
All right. Thank you, Leah and Kelly. And thank you, Admiral Collins, Admiral Bouboulis. And thank you to World Trade Center for co-hosting this event with us, which we hope will become a regular feature of our annual program. And we are anticipating a live in-person version of this for 2022. Thank you, the audience as well, for joining us in Ask the Admirals. The recording of today's event will be posted on Wednesday on the Navy League Seattle Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn pages, linked to the hashtag Fleet Week Seattle, as well as on the World Trade Center social media. And you can find all of the Fleet Week activities, virtual and real and in person, via the Seafair page, or just search the hashtag Fleet Week Seattle. Thank you all for joining us this morning, and enjoy the rest of Hybrid Fleet Week 2021.